As INFJs, one of our superpowers is that we understand people's needs. We very often understand their insecurities, we understand their intention, motivation, and we also know what they would like to receive, what their needs are, even if they are in their healthiest way. And understanding that can sometimes be our biggest downfall because although it gives us a lot of power, we completely forget one aspect. And the thing I'm going to talk to you about is something that I learned really, really late in my life. It is one thing that I want to share with you because it has made the biggest difference for me. And I don't think I've ever talked about it in this way ever before. So when you have anything in your relationships that is not going the way you want, so you don't have the healthy relationship that is giving you everything you feel like you need in life, maybe you're in a limerence stage, maybe you're in a phase with somebody that you're interested in, but things are not really working out, then this is the video for you. Even if it's somebody that you're already in a relationship with and you're not getting what you need. Before we get started, I want to remind you the next INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp launches October 26th. One of the pillars we tackle every single time, and we have a lot of results in that area, is relationships. So for us INFJs, relationships can make or break us. So let's figure this aspect out so it can be our biggest support system instead of the area that depletes us the most. Everything you need to know in order to join our amazing community of hundreds of INFJs who create life-changing results in their life, you can find in the links in the description. I see you there. Tell me I'm wrong. How often have you developed really strong feelings for somebody that you feel you might save? There's something missing in their life. You can understand them completely. There's so much you can do to take care of their needs. On top of that, you know that that person has feelings for you. You know that they really appreciate who you are. Maybe they even love you. But what does this actually mean? Maybe they're giving you all that they can, but is it enough? And that is what I want to talk to you about today. It's about your needs. What about your needs? What are your needs? I can tell you from my perspective, what are some of my biggest needs? First off, I can be whoever I want to be. How often have you been in situations with people where you being all that you are is actually triggering them, and you have this constant battle of, oh, I can do so much for them and then they would love me and we would have this great relationship, but it's actually at the price of you being yourself. Because the more you're being yourself, the more they're triggered with the truth of what they don't like about themselves, of what they're not taking care of themselves, of what they might need you for. So think about it. What are your actual needs? This should be the basis of it all. If you cannot be your baddest, biggest, best, most exciting, most glamorous self, whatever that may be, including the versions of you who might be insecure, the versions of you who might not be sure, the versions of you who might need help, like all of that, if there's something you have to hide, for example, your strength or the fact that you can be a threat because you probably don't really need people as much as they might need you, guess what? If you're not allowed to do that, that person is not taking care of your needs. That is not love. What and how do we want to define love? Love is also a way of how do you receive love. That we can give love. In most cases, if you're not like a toxic INFJ, you know how to take care of others' needs. I'm pretty sure you can answer that question for you. Am I able to really see others' needs and give them what they want? Probably yes. In most cases, we're probably still giving more than we actually need. And actually, are getting back. And that's okay. Like, I'm totally fine with that. But I know that I'm pretty good at understanding people's needs in my environment and what I'm willing and able to give them. So that is the first thing. You have to know, is this person able to fulfill my needs? And this basic need to begin with, this is a basic need. Every single person that you have any interest with that is not currently able to fulfill those needs needs to be rejected. And I want to be very clear about this because it feels so wrong to reject a person. But what you're actually doing is you're rejecting that version of themselves. That's all you're doing. It's okay to think of that person and cut ties. You actually need to cut ties with that person, because if that connection that is currently going on is based on the fact that you're giving up, demanding those needs, it's an attachment. It's not love. So how do you demand those needs? Well, actually what you're doing is you're being as unapologetically you as you possibly can. And if that person is treating you bad in any kind of way, you're mentally cutting ties. That person doesn't belong in your life. That does not mean that you would have a problem with that person being in your life while you're being yourself, but they have to make that choice. That's for them. So that's the first basic need. And you can demand it by saying, everybody who is not okay with me being all that I am can't really fulfill my need. Like, that's the first need. Yes, I want companionship, but not at the expense of me being myself. And then come the next layers. That person is here to not drag me down. That person is here to support me how I'm supporting them. They're self-sustainable, so they're not like my project and somebody I'm going to fix. Because again, where is your need in that moment? Is this person currently able to fulfill your need? And that's not for you to decide, but you have to demand them. And you don't have to demand them in a way of, listen up, these are my demands. You demand this energetically. Somebody doesn't treat you right, you distance them. You show them through your actions, I'm not here for this. And this can even be a person that you live with. It can be your parents, it can be your romantic partner, it can even be your kids. I don't care. You can really let them know, if you act like this, we're not having a relationship. I'm okay with losing you. And you'll see how people will change. And yes, you might say, well, doesn't this make me toxic? Because there are people, for example, narcissists, who are like, my needs, my needs, my needs. And if you're not taking care of this, then, you're a bad person. That's not really a bad thing, though. The problem with, let's say, narcissists or toxic people is this back and forth. It's this, you're never good enough, but I want you to stay. I need you. I'm a victim, and you're going to save me. Very often, it's some kind of dynamic like this, or you're nothing without me. We're not doing anything like that. What we're saying is the following. I need to be myself. I also need you to not drain my energy with, your overall, need for all of my attention. You're okay with me choosing me. You're okay with me making sure that I take up my space, that I take up my time, that I'm not forced to be somebody that I'm not, that I'm not acting in a way that is counterintuitive to who I want to be. Those are your needs. We never ever focus on our needs. But if you do this and you say, I'm going to categorically, even if it's step by step, limit any interaction with people where they're not really meeting my needs, you're going to see how people actually can show up. And it can be that this person really has strong feelings for you. It can also be that you can really change that person's life, so to say, by what you're giving them. But it doesn't really change anything about the fact that they're not willing or able to show up for you. And maybe they will, but that's not on you. What you have to do is to set those demands. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you have a relationship with somebody that is always based on the fact that you go their way, that you're giving 70% or 90% into the relationship, that you see how they're doing, and then they're responding somehow. Yes, we may not have that many needs, right? It's totally okay to say I'm giving more into a relationship that I'm getting back, but there's still some things we need. And the one thing that, as I said, has to be, the most important thing here is, first off, I can be myself, and I have clarity about you wanting to be in my life. So often we're seeing people that are struggling, that, somehow want us in their life, but they're not really choosing us. They're not actively choosing us. And we find an explanation for that. Well, they're going through so much and they're afraid of what that will bring up in them and all of those stories. And all of that might be true. But one other need that we have is that somebody actively chooses us, that somebody actively says, I want a future with you, I want you to be happy. So even if it's your spouse and that person is already committed to you and that person has already chosen you, and still they bring up some negativity towards you that is not really based on any action of yours, it's just like, that's the energy they put towards you for whatever reason, we can reject that. We can say, if that continues this way, I'm out. And you don't have to say that to that person. Your energy in itself will show that. I can talk to somebody and look like that. Not really talk to them. Yeah, have a nice day. I can be that. I can do that. Doesn't mean that that person isn't going to change and that subconsciously they will know that if they want us to be in a good mood and giving and really being able to tap into our intuition and, create a great life for all of us, that we're not open to a positive relationship. But that relationship has to be based on you actively being chosen, you're allowed to be who you are, and that you demand peaceful, positive communication. And, if that person is actively giving you those things, great. If they're not able to, and I really encourage you to look at it from the perspective of maybe they're not able to. Maybe they have some internal blocks, sabotages that are holding them back. You can have compassion for that person. That doesn't mean they belong in your life. And as hard and as painful as that may be, and how much you might feel like a bad person, you're not. You have to make sure that you're good. And this is emotional maturity. This is one of those aspects that, as I said, was incredibly difficult for me, and I'm still working on it. But I've really made it a point to make choices that are based on the fact, is this person actively fulfilling my needs? Because the only way I'm allowing this relationship to be is if they really take care of my needs in one way or another. If they can't do that, this relationship needs to be cut. So even if it's a child where you say, well, that child is not supposed to take care of my needs, I get that, right? But you can still show up in a way of, I'm taking up space, I'm making sure that I'm creating a positive energy, and I'm really inspiring people to get up there. Your own children, that's a different story because we know it's always our responsibility as parents how things are going. But a romantic relationship, a friendship, coworkers, your boss, your neighbors, whoever you're thinking about, if they're not able to fulfill your basic needs, that relationship needs to end because it is a basic need of ours to be seen, to be respected, to be allowed to be who we are. If they cannot stand in our presence because it triggers too much of their own stuff, guess what? They're not able to fulfill our need. They might be good people. They might have gone through horrible trauma in their life, and you can love them from afar and wish them all the best. But the closer you let a person psychologically to you, the more they have to be able to fulfill your needs. And if they can't, you really need to love them from afar. Because as I said, as INFJs, relationships will break or make us. They're not our solution, but they can be the thing that really derails us from where we're meant to be. And I'm thankful for those relationships that have really shown me that I do have needs. They might not be as big as everybody else's, but I still have the need to be seen, to be respected, to be chosen actively. I'm not running after a person because that person has internal things going on. Not doing that anymore. Although I know that they're hurting and I know that deep down they have feelings for me and all of that, doesn't matter. Is this person actively choosing me and planning a life with me and then also being able to be in my life? And I'm living out who I really am. And you'll see the people who are not able to do that will back off. They will not stay there. They will either change their behavior or they will distance themselves. So let them make that choice for them, but it can only happen if you stand on business, so to say. If you say, this is who I am, these are the needs I have, I can take care of them myself in a way, but if you want to be in my life, you have to add value. You have to be there and really support me by being me. And some people can support you in really small ways, as in being kind and appreciative of it, but from afar. Then let them stay afar. Have a positive relationship with them from that angle. That is a boundary that allows you to love yourself and them at the same time. So really lean into it. I cannot tell you how much this has changed my life. And every single time you cut off a relationship dynamic like this, and people either pick up their behavior and show up as a better version of themselves, or they distance themselves, you'll just have so much more energy left that you can then put into creating your INFJ epic life. The amount of energy that you will have access to because it's not being drained by a one-sided relationship is incredibly big. So that is one aspect that we have to be very firm on, because it can really make or break us. Remember, if you want to join our amazing community of hundreds of INFJs who create life-changing results, one of them are the relationships that are an anchor into the person you want to be or into the person you don't want to be, then join this live round that starts October 26th. Everything you need to know, you can find a link in the description. Join the waiting list to get access to the early bird prize. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.